We're back with a new news roundup video, and today's news it's kind of like, I think the order I'm going to do it in is bad news, then awesome news, and then bad news, and then some kind of discourse surrounding Superman, which I guess depending what camp you land in, it is bad news, but also good news, or kind of news where you're like, why is this even news? So let's dive into the first story today, and this is something where I didn't know for a fact that this was coming, but surrounding what we're about to explore, it felt like it was extremely likely, and that is DC Stargirl, that is now on the CW, was originally on DC Universe, has basically been cancelled. This isn't like a situation where it's ending. Nexstar, who acquired the CW, have literally stopped the show. Like, it's over. So let's dive into this. This is coming from Deadline. DC Stargirl is coming to an end. The series will conclude with its third season, which is currently airing on the CW. New episodes will continue to air on Wednesdays through December 7th. The cancellation of DC Stargirl comes less than a month after Nexstar Media Group completed its acquisition of the network, and is the latest series coming to an end. It joins the likes of series such as The Flash, but shows like The Flash, they decided to end in season 9, albeit that, to be honest, if they didn't decide that, I'm pretty sure Nexstar would have been like, yeah, bye-bye Flash as well. But they also go on to say that Deadline understands the team behind DC Stargirl, like Nancy Drew, was given an early indication that this might be the final season, and to write an ending that would reflect that. The decision is thought to have been made by Nexstar executives. Now, we're going to revisit the whole Nexstar aspect of this in just a minute, but let's just go over what Geoff Johns had to say. I'm going to cut a little bit out of this because it's regarding the ending of Stargirl Season 3. So Geoff Johns mentions that with all the brewing changes at the network, again, this is all about the brewing changes and Nexstar and whatnot, we were aware this was possibly the last season, so we wrote with that in mind and have delivered what I believe to be the best season of Stargirl yet, with complete creative closure. And to kind of expand on that, Breck Bassinger said on her Instagram that, how grateful she is. But at the end of her Instagram post, she says, P.S. With the unknown future, Geoff wanted to protect the end of our show and shot 2 endings. So please, if you have watched Stargirl, don't let this deviate you from continuing. Some of the best stuff has yet to come. So on one side of the park, it's good news that they shot 2 endings. This is something, if you've been watching my videos regularly, that I have said that not only applies technically to Stargirl, but also Doom Patrol and Titans as well. I'm not saying that they've shot 2 endings, by the way. It's just that there's this kind of thing in the air right now, even though Doom Patrol and Titans is a little bit different because they're not on the CW, but because they're in their 4th seasons, people don't currently know if they're going to get renewed for a 5th season. So we've heard that both endings of those shows, through various comments, do have a sense of finality there, but at the same time, possibility for a future. It's just that Stargirl probably knew a little bit more that, yeah, it's likely that Nexstar isn't going to want to keep us going, so we're actually going to shoot 2 endings. And that's what they did. So we're going to have some decent closure to the season, but, this is where the whole factor comes in, going back to Nexstar, because now people are going to be thinking, okay, what about Superman and Lois? If Nexstar have stopped Stargirl, which, to be honest, I think is the most quality CW show up there. I would have said Superman and Lois, but I feel like that dipped quite a bit of season 2, despite how much I still enjoy it. I still feel like Stargirl was, coming from DC Universe, which did have a different feel in its cinematography and everything, and it maintained that when it went over to the CW. Superman and Lois also had a different feeling with its cinematography, which was so refreshing, considering it was conceived on the CW, but again, I still hold Stargirl up there just a few notches higher, and yet it's ending. So what about everything else? So let's continue on about Nexstar. Deadline go on to say that the move is not a huge surprise after executives at Nexstar clearly signaled that its focus will be on retooling the CW and shifting towards unscripted content and shows that appeal to an older audience. Historically, shows such as Riverdale, All American, Arrow, Supernatural have focused on viewers in their teens through to their 30s. The reality, though, is that the average CW viewer is 58 years old. You may remember reports of this a few months back. That demographic has been run and validated by them, but the demographic they're looking at is kind of like for the daytime TV. You still have hundreds of thousands of the demographic that watched Supernatural, watched these superhero shows in the evening, you know, when the CW airs it, they were still tuning in. So, you know, it is like all of this is what is making this happen. Nexstar, after acquiring, I believe, 75% of the CW, is basically changing things up. They are more or less changing it into a bit of a reality TV kind of thing because this is the direction they feel like is right for them, albeit they might still keep 1 or 2 shows, but I have a theory on this. Stargirl had already filmed all of its season 3 episodes. They're airing right now. It ends December 7th. Now, Superman and Lois, they're making season 3. I don't think, I'm telling you, they wouldn't announce it right now. I'd be very surprised if they did. I'll hold my hands up if I'm wrong, but I would be surprised if they announce, oh yeah, by the way, Nexstar is also, us Nexstar, we are canceling Superman and Lois and not renewing it for season 4 because it doesn't fit our whole reality TV vibe that we're doing with our rebranded version of the CW. No. What they'll do, if it does get cancelled, is probably a similar thing to Stargirl. Like, they'll let it film, they'll let it get to the point of airing, and then at some point along the way, they will probably, I wouldn't be surprised if they tell the showrunners on Superman and Lois, yeah, maybe like film 2 endings just in case we don't renew you, only to announce, yeah, we're not renewing you. I do want to make it clear that is just speculation because I do feel like it's important to acknowledge that despite all of the changes that Nexstar is making to the CW with all of the reality TV, that they still might keep 1 or 2 shows, you know, such as Walker and, you know, Superman and Lois to cater to just offer something else on their network. It's just that they didn't or don't want it to be like the CW from a few years ago, where it's like superhero this, Batwoman, The Flash, Legends, this, that, the other. But I still wouldn't rely on Superman and Lois being completely, you know, invulnerable to this. I do think it is potentially in danger. I don't think even if it is in danger, we will hear about that until months from now. It is weird as well because, you know, you've got Gotham Knights coming to the CW, but don't forget that was kind of a part of the previous CW regime when that was being brought in. It's just what I need to remind you of is that Nexstar have now come into their own, and, you know, Gotham Knights has already been, you know, filming and everything, so they're obviously going to air it and everything like that. But it might be another situation like Stargirl where at some point along the way they're kind of like, yeah, but we didn't really greenlight this show, so, you know, we'll let the season air, but we might do a Naomi where we don't even let it go to season 2. But again, all of that remains to be seen. Let me know your thoughts on this. Of course, we're going to keep reviewing Stargirl, and I'm going to, you know, really take in each episode now, considering it is the last of this show. But let's move on to story number 2, and this is the cooler side of things before we kind of go back down to the side of things. If you can probably tell from the title, you might know what that is. And this is an update to Colin Farrell's The Penguin show. As you know, here we cover Matt Reeves' The Batverse very closely, and that Batverse is expanding out in many different ways. Spin-off shows like The Penguin, apparently the GCPD series is still very much so alive. There could be spin-off Rogues Gallery movies. There's an Arkham series that has found a showrunner now, so it is getting crazy. But the latest update for the Penguin series from Deadline is that the Penguin sets Cristin Milioti as female lead SOFIA Falcone. So remember the Gotham days on this channel, SOFIA Falcone is coming back, and the cool thing about this is that we've been talking about this on the channel, not to blow smoke up our asses here, because we do talk about the Batverse a lot. We have a discussion series here just in case you are brand new that continues a constant conversation on all the latest in Matt Reeves' Batverse, and whenever talking about who Oz Cobblepot, Colin Farrell's Penguin, would be up against in his own HBO Max show, in that whole struggle to seize the throne and the power vacuum that Carmine Falcone left behind, well, one of the suggestions we have been talking about is indeed a child of Falcone, and, you know, one of those that popped up was indeed SOFIA, and it looks like that is the route they're going. Now, don't get me wrong, we're probably going to get other mob bosses out there, potential characters that you guys have said in the discussion series, such as, you know, even like Rupert Thorne or even Roman Sionis, but again, are they going to really use big characters? Maybe, but this could be more of a concentrated lens of the camera on the actual heir to Falcone's empire. And, you know, it's kind of funny because it's Selina's sister, even though Selina, I suppose, isn't really recognized as a legitimate child of Falcone's because he didn't even recognize her until she revealed it towards the end of the movie. In the film, SOFIA is fighting with the Penguin for control of the city. And yeah, it goes on to detail that the last time we saw Sophia Falcone in live action was Gotham. Now, obviously, I could talk about this forever, but for now, until I guess I do another discussion series video, it's gonna primarily, I think, be her feeling like she deserves this. But obviously, on the other side of things, Penguin and his ambition for power, and even, you know, from some of the deleted scenes, or even what was included in the movie, he feels like one day this city is gonna know my name, and he's not gonna let anyone, even Falcone's daughter, Sophia, get in the way of that. But obviously, Sophia will have such conviction in feeling like the line of succession will or should be hers. She might even have a lot of Falcone's men behind her. So this is going to get very bloody, very messy, but it does make me wonder, what room is there left for other gangs? Will other gangs really want to step up against two people who are already currently battling for it, Oz Cobblepot and Sophia Falcone? I don't know about that. I do feel like they're going to introduce Sophia with quite a bit of backup already in her back pocket. I don't think she's going to walk in and be like, I don't have anyone behind me. I think those in Carmine Falcone's organization, even though he's dead, will follow her. I feel like they'll already even be familiar with her. It's just that the movie obviously didn't really delve into Falcone's other children. Not that it even had to. It's just that it doesn't mean, even though the movie didn't delve into it, that he didn't have a whole kid, the whole enterprise of that side of things. His followers and henchmen already familiar with her and following her if anything was to happen. So I think it will probably play among those roots. But I do wonder if Oz can get support from others in the criminal element, such as maybe some other prolific characters rising up against, do we really want Falcone's kid, or shall I make a change? Will you follow me, the Penguin? So this is going to be a very street level criminal element warfare kind of battle, and you know, as Colin Farrell said, he's got whispers that it will be R-rated, so this is going to be a really entertaining time. I know some people aren't ecstatic, not that they have anything really against the Penguin series, but they're not like, oh my god, it's gonna be amazing. But for me, entering the heart of the element, you know, waiting like snakes, as Batman said, and quite literally here they are waiting like snakes for the power vacuum to be truly filled by someone. It's gonna be a thrill of a ride. So of course, let me know your thoughts on that. But now, the next story, going back down a little bit, whether you like The Witcher or don't like The Witcher, I like The Witcher. I enjoyed watching it, despite the differences in source material, whatever, which is, I guess, something I have in common with Henry Cavill, and could be one of the reasons behind what has happened, and we'll get into that in a minute. But Henry Cavill as Geralt of Rivia, he was a fantastic casting. And as I'm sure you've heard, this was a few days ago, I'm a bit late to it, Henry Cavill is leaving the role of Geralt of Rivia, and the person taking up the mantle for The Witcher Season 4 is Liam Hemsworth. Now, originally, I think I even included it in a news roundup video that The Witcher Seasons 3 and 4 were filming back to back, so that was going to be like a long 12, 13-ish month shoot. But now, it seems like Cavill will be back for Season 3, he's committing to that. But then comes Season 4, it's like, oh. So as we're watching Season 3, when that releases, it's going to be kind of anticlimactic in a way, because you know Liam Hemsworth is going to come along and, you know, take over. And that's going to be very, very jarring. Now, this article doesn't get into, I think, what most people really want to know, the gritty details of, but why? Can't your sources tell us a little bit more about why? I do believe this is down to a few reasons. A lot of people are just saying, oh, it's because he's Superman. It's all because of that. That really isn't true, in my opinion. I can't prove this to you, but there's a lot of reading between the lines of the sequence of events that have surrounded Cavill's life as of late. And I think if you read between those lines, you kind of figure out the truth. So in my opinion, I think this is a bit of a mixed bag of things, going back to what lots of people have been just kind of talking about online as of late. So even though Henry Cavill loved the idea of playing Geralt of Rivia, and I'm sure had quite a fun time in his experience of shooting the show, however, his experience on the show and the way it was being adapted definitely left him more or less consistently fighting for more book accuracy. So there's been plenty of quotes out there, such as him saying things like, the toughest part for me was finding that balance between the showrunner's vision and my love for the books, and trying to bring that Geralt to the showrunner's vision. Or other quotes like, all of my asks and requests were along the lines of just being faithful to the source material. And then, after all of this stuff recently, we've had another update when it came out from a former member of the writing team, Bo DeMeo, and when answering how the writing team was assembled for his new X-Men 97 animated project, he said that you had to be a fan due to his experience of writing on The Witcher. So this is what he said. I've been on show, namely Witcher, where some of the writers were not fans or actively disliked the books and games, evenly actively mocking the source material. It's a recipe for disaster and bad morale. Fandom as a litmus test, check egos, and makes all the long nights worth it. You have to respect the work before you're allowed to add to its legacy. So ultimately, after hearing that as well, and I doubt he would just be like going on Instagram Live or whatever just to completely make that up about his experience on the Witcher's writing team if it didn't have like a modicum of truth there. So I think, in conclusion, Henry gave it a shot. He loves the character. I think he had a good time playing it. He had high hopes for the character and the vision for the show. I think he wouldn't have minded the show having its own direction in certain ways, but maybe kind of wanted a bit more, book accuracy there, but he just really maybe wasn't getting it. And so ultimately, it probably ended up in a place of where he wasn't really too happy with the vision of the show and the rumored somewhat dislike that some of the writers and even showrunner has for the books and games, and supposed mocking of the source material. And then with Cavill's horizons brightening up quite a lot, including returning to Superman in the next few years, he probably thought, it, I'm out of here. I'm going to sign to another couple of other roles. We've got Superman in a couple of years after that, and I'll just pass the mantle down to Hemsworth. I think it's more that side of things. I don't think it's, oh, he's now Superman, he's quitting The Witcher. It's really not that simple. I think it's a combination of everything we've just gone over. Now, what about Hemsworth? Now, look, I have nothing against the guy, and I am aware that recastings are a thing that's happened many, many times before. One big one being Spartacus, or recastings happen all the time with other characters. But when it is your lead, and one thing I think everyone could agree about with The Witcher show, even those who had massive problems with it, is that they really liked Henry Cavill as Geralt of Rivia. Now, I'm not saying that Liam Hemsworth can't pull that off, even though some people really don't like this casting, but I feel like there's going to be a bad taste in too many people's mouths here, even the diehard Witcher fans, where it feels like an ill taste for me to say they should just cancel the show. That's a comment I've seen so many times, but there is a part of me that does think, after having 3 seasons, the new season with Cavill, and then you're going to come back again with someone else who isn't Cavill, I don't know, I really don't know. I don't think this is going to bode well for the show at all, and I wouldn't be surprised if after season 4 airs, Netflix announces that, yeah, it's going to end with season 4, which I even think will be a larger L, to be honest, which does kind of make me think maybe they should kind of put the hat on the stand as of the end of season 3. It's kind of a weird thing. I feel like I might just watch it for the sake of it when season 4 does come out, but I don't know. I feel like at the same time, there's, if not just as much more of a chance that after season 3 and that last episode airs with Henry Cavill, I might just not be that much interested in coming back because it's not Cavill anymore. And that's not just out of undying loyalty to Cavill. It's the whole jarring situation that this is. So let me know your thoughts there. But in related Henry Cavill news, as you've probably seen Superman in the title, this is an interesting last story for the video. Let's talk about the latest discussion regarding Superman, because it seems as though that even though fans get Henry Cavill's Superman back, you just can't please everyone. So if you're wondering, Boba, what are you on about? So it seems that due to Cavill's latest comments and where he talks about wanting to play a more brighter and hopeful Superman and, whatever the next thing is going to be in that movie, whether it's Man of Steel 2, Man of Tomorrow, whatever the heck it's going to be called, he's just, talking about what he's excited for with the characteristics of Superman that he wants to embody. But as a result of this, you're getting a lot of fans responding to this being like, I'm not really down with this. It's going to change it to a completely different character to what the demeanor Henry Cavill had with his Superman in the Snyder version of those days, and it would just feel way too different and strive too far away from the Superman we knew from when he actually was playing Superman in Man of Steel, BVS, Zack Snyder's Justice League, and whatnot. Let's read out the actual comment that Cavill was saying. I do want to say there's larger comments to this. There's an interview that came out a little while ago, and then these are the latest Cavill comments. So he says, there is so much in the way of conversations to be had. Obviously, I have a very close connection to the character, and there is something extraordinarily special about him, extraordinarily special about his capacity to give and to love. I don't mean romantically, I mean his love for Earth and for the people who live here, and to make people feel powerful, to make people feel like Superman themselves. I have plenty of desires for this, of course, which will be discussed more in time, but the most important thing, which I will be aiming for, is for the audience to leave the cinema and to feel like they can fly, to feel like they can protect, and to feel like they want to give to everyone else. That would be my goal. Perplexing thing for me after reading that out again to you guys is that my initial, knee-jerk response to people disliking this is, well, do you dislike Superman or something? And trust me, I've put my feet on both sides of the fence here. I'm not ignoring what point they're trying to make, but the bigger thing for me is it's just way too much of a knee-jerk, apprehensive, presumptuous take on something that Henry Cavill is saying that literally is describing Superman to a T. And everyone, or there's a certain corner of fans who are just reacting to this, like going "ree" and just spamming the delete button before you even really see what it is. When I say I try to put both my feet on both sides of the fence here, I guess if I lean into it a little bit closer, the people who are really kicking off about this, I guess are concerned that this Superman in whatever Cavill's next Man of Steel movie, or Man of Steel 2, or Man of Tomorrow, whatever it's going to be called, would be way too bright, way too colorful, not only in the suit wear things, but in the tonality of the movie and the portrayal of the character. Some of the comments I've seen are comparing, like they're just going to go down the Wonder Woman 1984 route, where they're kind of just bottom line saying that even though it will be the same Henry Cavill playing the role, just like he did with Zack Snyder, it will be a completely different character. But again, I just want to say, based on what I just read out from Henry Cavill, that I think that's way too jumping the gun to say all of that and really kick off about it. After Man of Steel, and then after the events of the world addressing Superman and Batman vs. Superman, and then coming back in Justice League, the next movie would always be set on a stage, at least in my opinion, in where we'd likely have the world familiarized with the Superman, and thus in that movie we'd probably see Superman being a lot more actively Superman, embodying those characteristics that Henry Cavill says he really wants to hone in on in the sequel movie. The way I see it is that he will still have that same demeanor from what we saw in the Snyderverse, just likely perhaps a more confident one, of whom is just capitalizing on asserting himself out to the world and what he stands for. So as a result, with what Henry Cavill is addressing here, with what he wants to see done in the next movie, brings out more of that comic book Superman. Again, before anyone comments it, I know people were saying you're missing the point. I just don't want Superman to be a completely different character despite being played by the same actor, Wonder Woman 84ing it, this, that, and the other. But how does Henry Cavill talking about Superman characteristics and talking about embodying a bit more hope, people to leave the theater feeling like they can, deliver some of the morals of Superman in their everyday life, mean that he's going to be a different character? He's just talking about wanting Superman to be even more Superman in the next movies. And I've seen some people also say that Henry Cavill wouldn't be saying this if he didn't think that, his previous iterations of Superman didn't already have these qualities. But that's not true. That's not true. Why are people reading so deep into this? He's just talking about the next movie. He's talking about Superman characteristics, and he really wants to be a bit more of a brighter. And the way I read into that personally is a more confident Superman. The one who's gone past the courtroom scene of the world addressing Superman. The one who's come back from the dead. The one who's ready to just Superman all day and all night long, I guess. And just capitalize on what makes that character that character. I don't know. I just feel like saying take a breath, people. Just because Henry Cavill is talking literally and solely about Superman characteristics being more featured in his next installment, for some reason that means we really need to panic about him being a completely different version compared to his previous appearances in the Snyderverse. I don't think that's going to happen. If I'm wrong, again, I'll hold my hands up if they do like a Wonder Woman 84. I get what you mean, but I just don't think we need to jump to that conclusion when an actor is just actually talking about characteristics of the character they're playing. I don't know though, guys. Let me know your thoughts on that. Do you agree with the apprehension here? Do you see where they're coming from like I do? But I just feel like there's no way to really draw that conclusion yet. And of course, let me know your thoughts on all the other stories we talked about in today's video. Would appreciate a like as always. Maybe consider subscribing if you want to stay up to date with more news roundup videos just like this. I did a Titans Season 4 review yesterday. If you missed it, go check it out. I've seen 5 episodes. I give a no spoiler, long ass talk about it, but I try and make it as comprehensive as I can be, so hopefully you check that one out. But until next time, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you people of the DC universe, and I guess Witcher universe, in the next video. Goodbye.